Hello everybody, welcome back to reading the patch notes, and today I present to you my entry point Freelancer's Cut Stealth Perk tier list. I'm gonna explain my ranking criteria and some other stuff if you're new to the game, but if you don't want to hear that, you can press 1 on your keyboard and start watching the ranking immediately. Okay, Entry Point Freelancer's Cut is a paid remake of the game Entry Point on Roblox, which reimagines the original missions of Entry Point. So far, only has 3 missions. Both games use the skill tree system to give you buffs or new interactions to utilize during missions. However, Entry Point Freelancer's Cut uses a less intuitive skill tree system than Entry Point, which is why you will see that I grade seemingly the same perk 3 times throughout the same skill tree. So, in this game, perks use the tier system to make it so that a single major perk appears in the skill tree thrice, and will give you distinct abilities that are similar in nature the more you have of those major perks. For this reason, I have color-coded them into gray, blue, and gold colors, which mean tier 1, 2, and 3. The way I'm grading is by looking at how much one tier of a perk compares to the other tier of the same perk, which means that, for example, if I'm talking about Agility 3, I am talking about specifically the new abilities it offers without looking at how the lower tiers are graded. If I didn't do that, then it would automatically result that every tier 3 perk is better than their respective tier 1 perk, which, needless to say, is a terrible way of ranking, huh? Now, my grading criteria might be different from yours, which is why it could happen, and most likely will happen, that a perk you think is S tier ended up lower on the list. With that said, I am grading these perks based on how they perform overall in all missions on Legend Stealth only. So, not Recruit, because in that difficulty every perk is good, and not Tactical, because the variants that are introduced with this difficulty add too much variance and RNG to missions. Also, I will grade level 1 perks higher because they are easy to get and often are picked up because they are on the path to some other perk in the skill tree, yeah? Now, some general remarks will include: if a perk is best at one thing, which makes it meta in one mission, disregarding the lack of use of other missions will definitely grant it above C tier, with just one exception being Advanced Protocols 1. Spoilers. It is also taken into account if a perk of a higher level synergizes really well with the same perk of a lower tier. For example, Climber 1, 2, and 3, because Climber 1 helps you climb the obstacles that you can only climb with Climber 2 and 3 faster. Or Electrical Engineering 1 with 3. So you can inspect and rewire the roof power box in the withdrawal. Which means that I am going to grade the higher tier perk higher. A perk will generally go down on the tier list if there are many other perks of the same purpose in a mission. For example, Block Artist 2 and Electrical Engineering 3 both serve the same purpose of bringing down the elevator in the finance tier. And this criteria will come around most often. A lot of times different perks serve the same purpose in a mission. Now, this video took me a long time to make. I actually started working it right away after seeing the poll results. And I don't say this often, but if you like this video or learned something new, then consider pressing like on this video. Thank you for doing that, and enjoy the video. Agility 1 is a perk which makes you sprint 10% faster. Doesn't sound like much for a perk in the S rank, however, the perk does not increase the stamina drain, effectively giving you 10% more stamina, and does not affect the detection speed while running, making it safer to run around enforcers. Of course, since this is a movement speed perk, you will see the true value of it the bigger the map is, especially on the withdrawal. And yeah, Agility 1 does not enable you to do any mission-specific interactions like other perks do, but it's just so good for good and bad players and gives so much for so little investment, given that it's a tier 1 skill. Advanced Protocols 2 is a highly versatile perk. It's actually insane how many things this perk enables. The universal use of this perk is looping cameras in any mission if you access the camera node, pretty much disabling all cameras in the mission at the cost of some hack detection and a lot of hack resources. In the deposit, you can hack Maddox Gray's computer, so if you connect to the node on the wall on the second floor, you can get the ID immediately. In the Financier, you can unlock Ryan's computer without a password, which is a quick way of getting the safe combination. In the Withdrawal, you can unlock the servers, which is a tiny time save, because you can just interrogate a technician who is right there in the server room, so it's not that good for that use, but overall, universally useful. Pickpocket 1 is truly a one-of-a-kind perk in Entry Point Freelancer's Cut. It allows you to steal all items from an NPC from behind without incapacitating them. This is so useful in the deposit, because if you manage to pickpocket the head of security or the manager, then the mission is practically already over. Head of security's master key and keycard unlock all doors inside the bank, so you have easy access to any archive, office, server room, anything you want. Getting the vault keycard from the manager makes the deposit even easier. In the Financier, pickpocketing Ryan for his phone makes the mission safer and faster, because you can decrypt the hard drive before taking out Ryan. In the Withdrawal, this perk is not as useful as in other missions, but it's a good idea to take away the wandering camera operator's security keycard, so he cannot enter the camera room if you want to take out the stationary camera operator. And save some time in some cases. Moving on to A tier, Social Engineering 1 unlocks some conversation options. In the deposit, you can get spotted by a guard or manager to remove the trespassing status while on the first floor, which makes pickpocketing and whatever else you want to do more flexible. This also turns the second floor into a white trespass zone instead of a red trespass zone, so employees do not spot you. In the Financier, you can make Ryan follow you anywhere inside the penthouse if you lured away or took out his personal bodyguard. So you can take him out near the elevator and get his phone unlocked if you didn't want to search the file cabinets. In the Withdrawal, it allows you to ask the technician to go to the correct power box that you need to disable the metal detectors with. But it's way too slow because you have to follow the technician all the way to the power box, which can be slow depending on where the box is located. Social Engineering 1 also allows you to wear the intern disguise next to your van, but it's not that good, since you can easily get the guard disguise anyway by going to the floor with the locker room and bluffing, which does not need any social engineering, by the way. Then getting a keycard and getting inside the locker room. This perk also increases the time you can spend talking to someone by 2 seconds, which is cool, I guess. It's whatever. Pickpocket 2 speeds up the pickpocketing process from 4 seconds down to 2 seconds, which pretty much guarantees that you finish the interaction once you start it. Because it is faster, there is less chance that the person you're pickpocketing will start moving away, or that some other NPC will come around the corner and spot you, which is really helpful in the deposit. Not as helpful in the Financier, because if Ryan is standing in a spot where you can't pickpocket him in general, then the first tier of the perk will always be enough. So Pickpocket 1 cannot do... If Pickpocket 1 cannot do something, then Pickpocket 2 won't help you with that. For the Withdrawal, once again, generally not useful, but you can still take away the security card from the wandering camera guard to prevent him from going inside. And save some time. Traversal 3 allows you to traverse one node further from a physically accessed node. That means that in the deposit, if you can physically access either Maddox Gray or manager's computers, then you can traverse and hack the other PC, and vice versa. So if you access one, then you can hack the other with this perk. But these hacks need Advanced Protocols 2 and 1 respectively, so you can instead access a node on the wall and traverse to the servers and hack the code and ID this way. This would also allow you to traverse to cameras if you want. Traversal 3 can be not useful in the financier since the location of the laptop in the network varies, and you don't know if you will be able to reach the laptop when accessing any given wall node. But in the withdrawal, you can make this perk work by bringing the pineapple and connecting to the second floor node and traversing to the manager's computer to fabricate the meeting. You will also be able to disable the cameras at the cost of 1 alert level if you have the necessary perk for it and if you want to. Which perk? We will get there when we get there, okay? Intimidation 2 makes some guards hostageable, namely the head of security in the deposit and every guard in the financier except for Ryan's personal bodyguard. Think of this perk as Agility 1 of financier. Being able to hostage guards makes rushing the penthouse a strategy that you might consider, and it's a really good safety measure too, because the guard's unpredictable running pathfinding and the gun's horrible accuracy make it really scary once things start going out of hand. The head of security in the deposit is also hostageable and interrogatable for the combination for the safe, which is in the camera room, which holds the vault keycard. I'm sure this is the worst way of getting the keycard, but I mean, the option is there. Go try and see if you like it. In the withdrawal, you can force a hostage to open the vault for you when you don't have a gun. The simple and easy replacement to this perk would be to bring a gun. Yeah, not good for this purpose. Lock Artist 2 allows you to pick difficult locks, such as little rectangular safes and some doors. This perk's only use in the deposit is to pick the alarmed door to the parking lot. However, in this case the perk is kind of redundant, because you can drill this same door without any perks or modifications. Or even better, drill the vent right next to this door. Or open it silently with a screwdriver. Yeah, the deposit in no capacity needs this perk. In the financier, you can open the safe for the elevator keycard. It's a good way to get the elevator down, but it's not the best way, and I'll talk about it later. And Quincy's apartment door can be shot open with any gun anyway, so you don't need this perk. Where this perk has much more use is the withdrawal, allowing you to quickly check the safes in each office for documents, if you want to take the insider route. I think this is the best way to locate the insider, because otherwise you need to identify the insider first and then loudly drill the safe with the reinforced bit, which is especially inconvenient when it's Victor who is the insider, so every passing by guard will hear you drill and raise the alert level. Climber 2 allows you to climb pipes in missions. This unlocks a skip around the door that is overlooked by a camera to get into the basement and save a little time in the deposit, and that's it. In the financier, you can just climb these pipes from the apartments to the penthouse floor, which might look faster, but the problem with it is that you will still need to disable the power boxes, and then unlock a door to get inside, so would not recommend. And it's time for the withdrawal to single-handedly carry the perk up the list again. You can climb to the roof using a pipe. It's very quick if you have Brute Strength 2 or Climber 3, or a little slower if you have to run around the bank without these perks. Not good overall, but really good in the withdrawal. Advanced Protocols 3 enables some hacking interactions, the most notable being that you now can destroy wall nodes and remote switches if you have access to them. This feature is only really used to disable all cameras in a mission by destroying the remote switch that connects the cameras to the rest of the network. can be useful for the deposit if you don't want to or can't take out the camera operator for some reason. It's not a useful feature in the financier because you can just take out the camera operators, and destroying the switch would raise the alert level to normal, which would turn one guard inside the penthouse into an enforcer, so that would be 4 in total. But you can bring the elevator down if you have accessed the camera servers and traverse to the remote switch, which is the quickest way, I think, of getting the elevator down. In the withdrawal, like I just explained, it can be useful if you're using a full-on hacker build. Otherwise, you can snipe camera operators from the roof. Agility 2 makes you start regenerating stamina sooner and at a faster rate. It's really good if you're doing quick interactions often. For example, in the withdrawal, you might find yourself swiping keycards on certain doors and staying in those rooms for short periods, like searching the archives, getting a disguise, or memorizing the power box locations from the electrical room. All these interactions will regen so much more stamina than without Agility 2, so this perk shines in the withdrawal. However, if you don't do these quick interactions, or do interactions that would fill your stamina fully even without this perk, then the benefits of this perk aren't that noticeable. But that still does mean that if you were to just always sprint, then you would have higher sprint uptime, which you could also consider having. Inconspicuous 2 is the best general safety perk. It cuts the range at which people start spotting you. It feels, and take this with a grain of salt, it feels like it reduces it by around 15 to 20%. I do not have a reliable way of getting the exact number, but judging from feeling alone, this is a pretty good universal safety perk. Helps move around crowded spacious areas, like the second floor in the deposit. I don't really care about the added concealment bonus to guns, because in stealth a K45 is always enough and always concealed. Electrical Engineering 1 allows you to disable alarms on doors that have them as little rectangles on the side, and also all keycard doors. I don't really care about the keycard doors, because the keycards are easy to get with pickpocketing anyway. The rectangular alarms are more important to me. In the deposit, you can rewire the basement door, which you can already forget, because drilling or opening the vent with a screwdriver is much better. And you can also disable the alarms on the second floor door, which is something you can do if you want to. It would be a red trespassing area, so even employees can spot you, so I wouldn't recommend taking this route. In the financier, it pretty much has no use except for one door, the keycard to which is gotten from the guard that carries it pretty easily. Also good to mention that this is not the elevator route, which makes this method much worse already. In the withdrawal, however, this is where Electrical Engineering 1 is best. You can rewire the alarms on doors to create a huge shortcut when carrying bags to the van. Also a way to access the roof if you don't have Climber 2, to snipe the camera operators or inspect the roof power box for the correct color of the power box for the metal detectors. Not a universal perk, but is so good in the withdrawal. I mean, what are you even doing if you're playing without it? Remote access 2 is okay in the deposit, because you can immediately traverse to cameras and loop them if you have advanced protocols 2, but you can do the same with traversal 3 instead of remote access 2, by accessing a wall node instead of going into the server room. It has no use in the financier, and you need to have a fully fleshed out, hacking centered build to make remote access 2 work in the withdrawal. But when you do have that build, it's like the best build there is. You get access to the remote switch in the IT, use traversal 3 to get to the servers to fabricate data, using advanced protocols 2. Then you go upstairs and disable and use the pineapple to traverse to the manager's assistant's computer and confirm meeting. All this should leave you at alert level, alert, and a quick completion of the withdrawal if you have electrical engineering 1 also. Climber 3. Not a universally applicable perk, but it is the best at what it does in the withdrawal. It gives the easiest and fastest access to the roof. Doesn't sound like much, but think again. It is sniping the camera operators, finding out the correct box if you have electrical engineering 1, disabling all door alarms if you have electrical engineering 3, and the quick access to manager's assistant's computer if you get lucky with the RNG. The deposit does not offer many useful options, but you can now climb from the first floor to the second from this spot. Not sure about the practicality of this little maneuver, but just know that you can do it. Climber 3 also makes climbing into the basement through the window from outside more consistent. You can still do it without the perk, but it's gotten harder. Maybe Sishato doesn't want us to jump in without Climber 3. I don't know. Yeah, it's also useless in the financier. Don't bring it for that mission. C tier. Now we get to the perks that are situational. Equipment Specialist 1 is the singular perk in the game that does not affect the gameplay in any way, which by itself would be terrible, but it halves the cost of electronic equipment. You don't get considerable value out of this perk unless you're grinding, which I do not grind in Entry Point Freelancer's Cut, I just do the dailies and nothing else. But if you do grind, then this perk can save you money. A lot of it, which adds up the more you play. It's most useful in the withdrawal, or at least if you play it the way I do usually, by bringing a hacking tablet and rework it, and maybe even pineapple to save more money. So yeah, it's good for that. Lock Artist 3 is used to crack safes. It enables many things, but all of them are more or less mediocre. Cracking the safe in the deposit gives you the vault keycard, which is already easily gotten by pickpocketing or luring the manager into a conference room. In the financier, it helps you open the safe quicker if you get a short combination, or slower if you get a long one. It all depends on your luck. And in the withdrawal, you can crack the camera room safe, which partially enables the worst way to open the vault, that being rewiring the biometric scanner. Not a good look for a tier 3 perk, but it is what it is. Brute Strength 1 is an okay general safety and time saving perk. You don't move bodies often, but when you do, it's most likely because you have messed up in some capacity, and this perk helps clean things up. And also helps search bodies faster if you have Pickpocket 2. It's whatever. Advanced Protocols 1 is not used anywhere but the deposit, and in the deposit, it's like one of the 2 best perks you can have. You can hack the manager's computer to get the code and lure the manager into a conference room to take them out or pickpocket them and get their key, and subsequently get the archive key from one of the offices, and then quickly get the ID from the archives. Really good perk, absolute carry, just like Pickpocket 1 and 2. But it's only used in the deposit. It's a shame. Electrical Engineering 3 lets you use your rework kit on more complicated devices. In the deposit, that means that you would be able to rewire the electrical box next to the vault room, which would disable the sensors in the vault. Far from necessary, because you can just shoot a transformer. In the financier, it gets better. You can rewire the elevator. I still think this is the worst way to get the elevator down, but in this case, any possibility is welcome, because this would be the first and last time you see electrical engineering be used in the financier ever. In the withdrawal, you can rewire the roof power box to disable all alarms on alarm doors, and rewire the intercom panel on the doors that use it. The power box one is okay. I think it saves you rewiring 1 door in total, But for the intercom, using guard hostages is much better because they are pretty easy to come by from shooting this camera or just noise luring. Overall cool concept, but I must admit not practical enough. Inconspicuous 3 is an okay safety perk. It does not open up any new opportunities, at least from my experience playing with this perk, and can sometimes actually be harmful if you're trying to noise lure someone but they can't hear you because of the distance. If it would bring back shoot stalling from entry point, then it's easily an S tier perk, obviously, but it doesn't do that, so it stays firmly at the bottom of C tier. Social Engineering 3 allows you to ask Ryan for his laptop in the financier, which is a nice time save, saves you some time searching the file cabinets, but the issue with this perk is, if you were to optimally get to the penthouse, you would have used Advanced Protocols 3 to bring down the elevator, and Advanced Protocols 2 allows you to crack the password of Ryan's laptop already. So think of it what you will, but this factor, in my opinion, brings the usefulness of this perk down. The single use of Social Engineering 3 in the withdrawal is using the intercom on the door in the hallway next to the stairs. The problem with this is that you need to have a guard disguise, and guards themselves are easy to come by in the withdrawal by just shooting this camera overseeing the stairs or noise luring to get a hostage guard and open the door for you. So yeah, not that useful in general, but it is a time save nonetheless. Although you would imagine that this high of a charisma level would let you do so much more, but it doesn't for some reason. Also, Social Engineering 3 increases the time you can spend distracting someone in a conversation by 6 seconds in total, which is, I don't know, it's insignificant. Traversal 2 is a safety perk for hackers. Now, the underlying feature of hacking is that you don't need to stick your head out as much and get exposed to all the guards that become enforcers as the alert level rises. But even this is quite irrelevant here, because there isn't a mission where this perk would save you from an alert level. In the deposit, you need 2 traversals at most, and then you're done, without exceeding the hack detection limit. In the financier, you don't traverse as much, because it's unreliable, unless you have triangulation 3, I guess. And in the withdrawal, you're either not hacking, or going fully out, going all out, and getting the alert level to alert. In general, this safety perk is not good unless you have traversal 3, but like, even then it's not that good. Brute Strength 3 adds the ability to quickly and loudly kick doors open. This would also leave the door permanently broken, and guards will raise the alert level if they see it. That is why you realistically would only use it on cage doors in the withdrawal, if you don't want to get the key. However, the key, which is in the manager's office, by the way, opens doors quicker and quieter. Well, why would noise be an issue in the vault? Well, there's a chance that a guard might hear doors being kicked open. And after you take out that guard that got lured, there might be a chance that another guard would hear you taking out the first guard. And repeat this once. So sometimes it's not a time save at all. Not to mention it's pretty much useless for any other mission, because then doors are either reinforced, easily openable without kicking already, or are out in the open. Not a good time saving perk, but can be made work if you tried. Remote Access 1 is not a good hacking perk. Why? Because it's hard to find a case where you would need both your accesses. The most I see this perk being used is in the deposit when you access the second floor wall node to get the code and ID, and then access the basement wall node to lure out the vault cam room guard. It's not really a camera room, if you don't have a security keycard by this point, which would be pretty easy to get. You just need to pickpocket either the blonde guard or the head of security and you're set. Oh, and not to mention that remote access 1 doesn't allow you to connect to the remote switches, so you're stuck with wall nodes only. Brute Strength 2 is a highly situational perk. It has no use in the deposit, and in the financier you can break open the power box lids. You can already see the issue. We are forced to use a bad stealth route to begin with to get any use out of this perk. And opening power boxes that way makes noise, so there is a high chance that you increase the alert level doing that. But in the withdrawal it's not that bleak. You can move the dumpster to jump over the ledge and get to the roof with just Climber 2, pretty quickly. Problem with this is that Climber 3 is easier to get in the skill tree and gets you a faster route through not having to climb the ladder. And you can break open the power box lid on the roof, which I guess it's like a 5-second time save compared to drilling it, but that's about it. It does little things and not the best at the things it does do. Equipment Specialist 2 is not useful in stealth. I would actually say it's harmful, because more space means you can bring more stuff, sure, but items have a movement speed penalty if you didn't know. And if you didn't know that, then you for sure didn't know that the backpack actually reduces that penalty if you put your stuff in there instead of your inventory or any other bag. You might want to bring this perk because you don't want the added detection speed of wearing a bag. That's a valid reason to me, but I would never do that. Putting stuff in the backpack for more speed is more important to me. Social Engineering 2 only has real uses than Financier, being asking this long-haired guard to disable the door alarms so you can maybe exit out from the outside with Ryan, and use the radio station to either reset the alert level to calm or lure guards upstairs after you've taken out Ryan's personal bodyguard. You don't need to use the radio station in a normal run, and you can live without the alarms being disabled, so not really that helpful to me. In the deposit, the only thing you can do is temporarily send away the 2 roaming guards in the basement to the parking lot. I guess it's cool that you have this option, but I feel like it was made solely for the sake of making undisturbed occupants not as painful to do. And in the withdrawal, its only use is to use the intercom from the garage. The issue with this method is that there is a conveniently placed guard whom you can hostage and force to open the intercom door. This perk also increases the time that you can spend distracting someone by talking by 4 seconds in total. Seriously, who thought of this? This is lame. Lock Artist 1 saves your lockpicking progress on locks. The only time you would be stopping the interaction is when you're lockpicking the offices in the deposit, and nowhere else really. But that can be skipped by getting a suitable key from the manager or head of security. Yeah, once again pickpocketing outclasses most of the perks. Inconspicuous 2 makes it so that your walking is silent. This is not useful for much generally, bad perk for legend. Equipment Specialist 3 is cool if you want to put 2 mods in your equipment. I don't, but I imagine getting a stronger motor and a quieter drill would be helpful when you want to drill something. Other than that, most of the other tools that you can bring have one definitively good mod and the other one being either harmful in some situations or just not noticeable that you even have that modification. So yeah, this perk is not useful. Awareness 2 is a bad safety perk. It's only ever used in 2 cases. The first one is lockpicking Victor's safe specifically. Any other insider has their safe way too deep into the office, and Awareness 2 will not help you if they're coming in. Second is opening Ryan's safe in some unlucky spots, but even then you have enough time to react to the detection bar, unless you have no disguise for some reason. This perk also marks people next to you while you're carrying your body. Not a good upside because you are realistically never carrying a body through an area with people. F tier. And here we begin with Pickpocket 3. I really wanted this perk to be good. It's true. It reduces the range at which people spot you pickpocketing, and that's it. At this stage of the game, bringing this perk to any mission is unnecessary and excessive. There is not a single thing that Pickpocket 3 can do that Pickpocket 2 cannot. I wish the third tier would allow you to do something cool, like pickpocketing in conversations, or instantly stealing items from behind or something. And Sishato, please do not swap tier 2 and tier 3 of pickpocket like you did with traversal some time ago. Either buff tier 3 or let it be like this. Just my opinion. Triangulation 2 is not good because you can just look around corners and be careful, which you already should be doing. That's why I think that this perk is kind of a crutch for new players, because they don't need to pay as much attention to the environment. Also, even if it wasn't a crutch, I still think it's bad, because to justify putting this hack on a node, I would have to spend some time in this area to get any value. I personally don't find myself spending more than 20 seconds in any given area, so yeah, maybe you find use out of this perk in stealth. I don't. Intimidation 3 allows you to hostage Ryan's personal bodyguard. Woohoo, I guess. You can always just search the mail in her apartment and get an easy lure to take her out in a secluded spot, or just separate her from Ryan. 2 little applications for a tier 3 perk, I say, or any perk for that matter. Ability to hostage a single person in the whole game is really underwhelming. I would buff it by giving it the ability to tell hostage people to keep their hands down like the cooperative hostages do in those trouble. Or maybe also something cool, like, for example, telling Ryan to go and get the hard drive for us and decrypt it for us, while any guard that looks at Ryan would think that he looks suspiciously worried or anxious and raise the alert level. So we would have to keep Ryan from telling guards that he's actually being intimidated or something. I don't know what you think, my dear viewer, but I want more cool stuff and freedom of approach in entry point Freelancer's Cut. Triangulation 1 allows you to ping the devices you have accessed to highlight them through walls. Similarly to Triangulation 2, I think this is also kind of a crutch perk, because you would only get noticeable value if you have no clue where any given device can spawn. So just get out there, remove this perk, memorize all possible spawns of all devices. It's not that hard, because there aren't even that many spawns, and half of the devices have fixed locations to begin with. Intimidation 1 allows you to hostage people quietly in conversations. It's an okay concept, but you can already do that by going up to them from behind and you hostage them immediately. And it's not like it increases time hostages stay hostaged without you monitoring them. Actually, none of the intimidation tiers do that. I actually would assume that they would, but they don't, so trash. Traversal 1 reduces the resource cost of traversal hacks. You are not getting any value out of this perk unless you have more than 2 traversals active, from my experience. This is, of course, speaking from the point of view that you just bring Traversal 1. Traversal 3 is lifted up by the bonus of the first tier of this perk, but that does not inherently make Traversal 1 good, yes? Climber 1. Similar to Traversal 1 and 3 situation, Climber 3 is pretty much useless unless you bring Climber 2 or 3 to complement, because there is no incentive to climb anything that is not pipes or high ledges. The maps are just not designed like that. Agility 3 allows you to crouch sprint. It's pointless, straight up. Crouch sprinting is much slower than normal sprinting and consumes more than double the stamina. Almost triple, I think. Not only that, it's also harmful because you cannot sprint slide to save stamina while moving quickly. You will be forced into crouch sprint after you finish your slide. Terrible perk for stealth overall. Awareness 1 lets you see the inventory of the people you have marked. This ability is useless, because any given NPC in any mission does not ever switch appearances. The head of security in the deposit always looks like this graying dude with glasses and a beard, Victor is always a guy with this hair, and this girl patrols the apartment floor alongside a camera room. Once you memorize the appearances, you can memorize the inventories, so you will not need this perk ever again. Awareness 3 is useless in most cases because, well, I personally did not find myself needing to mark more than 2 people at any point in any mission. If you did, then good for you, spend your skill points on this. And I'm not trying to sound condescending, I just think that this is too big of an investment to be able to mark 4 people instead of 2. Like, it's a tier 3 perk. I wish it did something cool, like, for example, with this perk you would be able to pay close attention to Ryan while he's pathfinding to some of his spots, and figure out his PIN number as he's unlocking his phone to type something, for example. Or something like in the withdrawal, you could pay close attention to the behaviors of the insiders and like get leads that they're safe might have something more suspicious to look for. Those features, I'll tell you what, sound extremely cool in my opinion, and I want that. Remote Access 3 allows you to physically access 3 switches or wall nodes at once. This is excessive for any mission, and you will not be able to fully utilize all 3 effectively. It is truly a shame. I wanted this perk to be cool too. Now, this suggestion might be entering the realm of fiction a little bit, but just listen. What if Remote Access 3 allowed you to turn a node that you have traversed to through the hacking tablet or traversal into a physically accessed one? You would have all the advantages of a physically accessed node, like you can traverse one node away from it and whatnot, at the cost of, say, 1 full alert level and some hacking resources. I know that out of all suggestions that will never make it into the game, this one will not make it into the game the most, but I just want cool things, yes? Did I make that clear yet? Electrical Engineering 2 is a bad perk. I would imagine that overloading and destroying power boxes would be practical in missions, but it is not, sadly. There is not a power box in the deposit to begin with. The financier power box permanently disables the elevator, so the best route to get into the penthouse is disabled. Terrible. And the withdrawals power box, the one in the electrical room, disables all alarm doors, sure, but at the same time it disables the vault biometric lock. So overloading the power box soft locks the mission. Triangulation 3. What can I say? It's a useless perk is what I can say for sure. Huh? You can memorize the network of all missions by yourself and not need to waste perks on this garbage. So yeah, this perk is absolutely useless. What? Hello everyone. Today, Entry Point Freelancer Scott has received a brand new update which added many cool new weapons and mechanics. But Before we begin, please like and subscribe